Hey everyone, welcome back to Portal of Wisdom. I'm back today with another story for you. So if you are new to the channel, like and subscribe and click that little post notification bell so you get alerted when I post new videos. And now on to today's story. I know I do a lot of lost mines and lost treasure stories and stuff like that on the channel, and I've done a lot of the very popular or more well-known ones. And anyhow, I know a lot of the community that listens to a lot of my stuff are probably outdoor adventure type of people that like to go out and explore, or maybe live a little bit vicariously through some of the videos and thinking about some of these locations. And obviously what goes along with that sometimes are some great travels in some of the national parks and in the mountains and bucket list type of places. And today we are going to talk about one of those bucket list type of places. So obviously the Grand Canyon is on a lot of people's bucket list and a lot of people have been there, but there are some spots within the Grand Canyon that are definitely bucket listable too, and a lot of people don't know about them. So a lot of people have hit the south rim of the Grand Canyon and they've been in awe of the sight of the river that looks like a ribbon cutting through the landscape. But there are some people that get on some of the trails that go down into the canyon, and some of those people are familiar with Rim to Rim and Bright Angel Trail and some of the very common ones. But there are some trails that are a lot lesser known and go to some spectacular sites in the canyon. And one of those trails we're going to talk about is the Thunder River / Deer Creek Loop. And the Thunder River, which is down in the Grand Canyon, it's on the North Rim. It is a river that just emerges out of the side of a cliff face. It just mysteriously pops out of the side of the cliff, and then you have this instant desert oasis. And the river only flows for about a half a mile or so, I believe, where it then flows into Tapeats Creek, and then that creek flows into the Colorado River. And because of this, a lot of people or a lot of river rafting trips will stop and they may take you to the Thunder River because it's a little bit closer to the river. And the other spot is the Deer Creek part of the loop for Deer Creek Falls, which is a 180-foot waterfall. And this waterfall is very close to the Colorado River. So the rafting trips that do stop at one or two of these stops, most of the time they will stop at Deer Creek Falls. There might be a few of them that go back in a little ways to Thunder River. So you'll probably see a lot more pictures on the internet of the Deer Creek Falls and very few of Thunder River popping out of the side of the cliff. And it's because it's a little bit less accessible. And the people that do have it on their bucket list and do want to go there, typically they are going from the North Rim and they're going to hike in on this loop. And that Thunder River / Deer Creek loop is about a 20 to 30 mile round trip, kind of depending on exactly what route you take and whether you do Thunder River or Thunder River and the Deer Creek itself. So anyhow, with that being said, Deer Creek, like I said, is a very phenomenal site in itself. It's a 180-foot waterfall, and it's spectacular. And, Thunder River also is with that instant desert oasis that it creates. So like I said, hiking starts at the North Rim for this loop, and it's pretty challenging to get to the trailhead, which is the Bill Hall trailhead where you park and then start the hike. It's a lot of miles down some rough roads on the North Rim to get to that point. So, things that people don't always consider when hiking in the Grand Canyon is that hiking there is sort of like hiking a mountain in reverse. The temperatures get hotter and hotter as you descend into the canyon, as you're basically getting closer to like the desert floor. And for a 20 to 30 mile round trip, you're not going to do that in just a day or two. So you will have multiple days in the canyon and you must plan accordingly. Also, another thing that a lot of people don't realize too is that you're pretty exposed almost the whole way, especially on the esplanade, the flat, slick rock that you hike down onto and are on for, for quite some time. So, with that being said, with very little to no shade at all, when you're down in the canyon, you probably go through a fair amount more water and you have a little bit more planning to do. Now, we all know the common saying, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And that really does factor in when you're talking about a trip into the Grand Canyon, because the more you plan and the more you know what's going on and where you're going and what you need to have on you, the better off you'll be on the trip. And the reason I mention this is there are people that see some of these pictures and on a whim they think, you know what, let's go for, a weekend excursion into the Grand Canyon and go check out these sites without really realizing what exactly they're getting into. And this is what happened back in 2009. There was a NAU student that got to campus a little bit early in July of '09. He was from the East Coast. He wasn't real familiar with the desert. And he decided, his name was Bryce Gillies, and he decided he was going to check out these locations in the canyon, and he really wanted to see them. And for obvious reason, they're beautiful sights. But he left on, I believe he left on a Saturday, and he told his friends that he would be back on Monday. Now, I don't know if you know kind of how the canyon is laid out, but if you're in Flagstaff at NAU or Northern Arizona University and you're going to go to the North Rim, it's quite a few hours to go all the way around to get to the North Rim. There is no straight shot. So by the time I'm sure he got to the trailhead, which is many miles down the, these rough roads on the North Rim, I mean, probably most of Saturday was probably done at that point. So I don't know if he hiked in, Saturday late afternoon or early evening or Sunday or whenever it was he hiked in. But there was no way he was going to be back on Monday. And this is July. This is the hottest part of the summer and everything. He didn't file any permits, so the National Park Service didn't know where he was going or anything like that. So anyhow, but people are saying he must have been somewhat skilled because he did manage to get to the Bill Hall trailhead, which can be a challenge. I'm talking I don't even know how many miles down rough roads and lots of side roads and stuff like that. It's a long ways. So anyhow, he had good enough skills, and maybe he had plenty of backpacking knowledge and stuff like that too, but some of that goes out the window a little bit when you're talking being in the Grand Canyon. You need to be extra careful. Well, it ended up that he never made it out of the canyon. He got lost in the canyon, and I believe he got fairly close to the Thunder River, but a lot of experienced backpackers that have been down there said depending on the winds, you can get weird echoes that make it sound like the water that you're hearing this rushing water coming from a different direction, and if you try to follow that water, you can go in the wrong direction and then end up lost, and that's what people assume happened to him. And I don't believe he had any maps, that no one knew he was out there, and until people were alerted a few days later, and they eventually found his body in one of the side canyons. So anyhow, it is, and it's a very sad thing, but it is a very important thing if you're going to take on a bucket list type of thing like this, that you do some exceptional planning. And there are hikers that go into the canyon and they post a lot about their experiences. So you can find a lot of these itineraries and details and things that they planned on, because there's a lot to it to go there. You need to cache water in multiple places for your hike out. There's a lot of things that go into it. I mean, if you're going to be in the canyon for 4 or 5 days or so, you got a lot of planning to do with food and planning on how you're going to cook things, if you're going to take foods that you have to cook, and there's camping tips and other details that you need to check into, and a lot of these itineraries that people have mentioned will go through things day by day and give a lot of directions and mistakes that they've made and stuff like that. So the more planning you do, the more videos you watch, the more articles that you read about people that have been there and just their personal experiences and everything, obviously the better off you'll do. And of course, you don't want to go alone. You want to make sure you get the proper permits. You go in a group, and probably make sure you have a good GPS, and people know where you're going and everything too. So anyhow, there was a little snippet that I took that I thought kind of speaks a lot about what this area is all about. It comes from the Park Service, and one of the things that they say about this area, and this is quoted from them: booming streams of crystalline water that emerge from mysterious caves to transform the harsh desert of the inner canyon into an absurdly beautiful green oasis, replete with the music of falling water and cool pools. So that description and obviously photos from the area can definitely draw people to this area. But the park also states, with kind of a warning, as follows: trailhead access can be difficult, sometimes impossible, and the approach march is long, hot, and dry. But for those making the journey, these destinations represent something close to canyon perfection. So that's what the Park Service says about these destinations of Thunder River and Deer Creek waterfall. So, it's one of those things, depending on your skill level and abilities and stuff like that. Some of the adventure community might decide that that's something that they want to do, or it might be something that's been on your bucket list for a while. It's been on mine for a while, and one of these years I'll go there. I've already been to Havasupai multiple times. I may do another video on Havasupai and some of my experiences down there, since no one can go there at this point. And that'll probably open up in the future, but I know a lot of people are missing the ability to be able to do that hike too, which is pretty phenomenal in the Grand Canyon. So anyhow, that is, I guess, a bucket list item of the Thunder River and Deer Creek in the Grand Canyon. Thanks for listening.